John Fredericks, America's Godzilla of Truth. He's popular and proficient in picking politics with prophetic precision. And now J. Fred's picking sports. Are y'all ready for this? All across the airwaves and streams of the John Fredericks Media Network, John, Jack, and Nate, three guys that are pretty wise when it comes to picking winners. Football, basketball, baseball, soccer, golf, UFC battles, you name it. When the game is on your mind and money's on the line, Godzilla Wins is your guide to picking winners. Before you make that play, hear what J. Fred has to say. Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
Oh yeah, for entertainment purposes only.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Godzilla Wins Saturday Pick Show. I am your host, Jack Fredericks, alongside my father, the Godzilla of Truth, John Fredericks, and our senior sports analyst and writer for our college football and others, a bunch of other sports. Dan Angel will be joining us for the first hour. Nate Perry, our senior editor, also with us this morning for the first hour of the show. Everyone, we are going to be previewing the college football week 11 games here. A lot of big games and storylines to get to. About halfway through the show, 40 minutes into the show, we're going to give you some of the best previews and predictions for the Ole Miss Georgia matchup, big SEC matchup. And we're going to be joined by senior Georgia writer Brian Butcher. He's going to join us at about 8:40 Eastern time to be talking UGA, break down the team and the matchup. And of course, we'll always have Dan and Nate with us as well for that key SEC matchup that we'll get to in a little bit. At the top of the hour, NFL, we're going to be joined by James Tillman III. He's our Bears writer to talk a little Thursday night football. Big Bears win. They're 3-7 now, trending upward, I guess. And then at 9:30, we'll be joined by Darian Kelly to talk the afternoon games as well. These NFL lines, y'all, are getting sharper and sharper by the week as the teams shake out. A lot of parity in the league right now, so you don't want to change that dial. You don't want to go anywhere. Let us help you predict for the NFL. Lots of stuff to get to today. Big college week, big NFL week. We're excited for a very packed show. And for your Godzilla Wins subsidiaries and anything that is associated with Godzilla Wins, remember that this is for entertainment purposes only. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537 in Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, Nebraska, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming, 800-327-5050. Visit gamblinghelpline-ma.org. In Massachusetts, call 877-G-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 in Kansas, New Hampshire, 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or visit opgr.org in Oregon. All right. Welcome to the show, everybody. Glad to see everyone. Really excited for this next hour of college football.
Hey, let me just start with this, Jack. I think you got a real second career coming up in reading disclaimers. You know how they do those pharmaceutical ads, and then they have to disclaimer really, really fast. I mean, I think you got a real future in that. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah,
he can rattle those disclaimers off.
Yeah, I would be inclined to agree.
Yeah, I think it's because I have this one memorized. I'm not sure if I could read off a disclaimer with as much acuity in something that I don't know, but I've really got this one memorized. I know all the gambling hotlines now. So if you got a problem, we want you to call those numbers, but you can also call me and I'll rattle off the number for you because I have it memorized at this point. Now, Dad, if you live in a state where DraftKings is legal,
yep,
what is the best promo code on earth to use to take advantage of some of the best savings?
Godzilla 5 will get you 200. How do you beat that? You put in $5. You just go to DraftKings.com, download the free DraftKings app, and boom, you put in $5. And then you're going to get $200 in free bets instantly. Now you can bet any of these college football games today if you're in any of these DraftKings states. All you got to do is put in $5. Hey, when was the last time you spent $5 at the Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, Krispy Kreme, 7-Eleven? You go in there, you spend $5 on a cup of coffee. Now you can get $5, you get $200 in instant free bets to play as you wish. And you can do our picks. You could turn that $5 into God knows how much, right? Especially if you follow me, because I'm hot. So all you got to do is go to DraftKings.com, promo code Godzilla. They've been with us forever. Great sponsor of ours. And you're good to go. As soon as you put that $5 in, you bet any team today, college, NHL, NBA, whatever you want, or tomorrow NFL, you're gonna get $200 in free bets instantly, only at DraftKings. And if you have a gambling problem, call the Gambling Problem Helpline 888-532-3500, and you are good to go. The only thing that pisses me off is when I go to a state where there's no DraftKings. I'm trying to get my NHL bet in that night, or MLB bet, or wherever I'm going, and there's no DraftKings, or if I'm driving, you got to do it before you go over the state line. Other than that, you're good to go. DraftKings.com, sports book. Download the app, Godzilla promo code, $5 get you $200.
Okay, so we're going to start here with a little college football news that broke last night. The Jim Harbaugh suspension. I suppose the Big Ten has banned him on terms of their sportsmanship clause, sportsmanship rules. I don't really know what those are, but apparently sign stealing is in violation of those.
Yeah, it's called don't be a jackass. That's the rule.
Okay. Well, then I don't think that's the legal term, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah. Dad with the legalese there. So I guess where I kind of want to start with this conversation is, why did it take the Big Ten a couple weeks to hand down this suspension? It seems suspicious that it would come a day or two right before one of their big games with Penn State, and then it also, I think, covers the Ohio State game, that 3-game ban. I would think, almost positive it does. Correct me if I'm wrong.
so.
Yeah, so I'm a little suspicious as to why this came down now, what's changed, and if we think that this was a fair judgment. It's being appealed, so he might be able to coach during the Penn State game. We'll see. Dan, I want to start with you because you've covered the Big Ten in your career pretty extensively, and you always give us a good sort of historical perspective of some of these things. So we'll start with you, Dan, and then we'll move on to some of the other panelists.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, this really was something that Harbaugh should have been aware of and probably was, and it seems like it's just a slap on the wrist here. I mean, on the other side of the coin, it also seems like several other schools were doing it to Michigan. So it's tough to really say that there is really any kind of precedent for how the Big Ten should have handled this. I think it's probably okay, not great. It does seem to be kind of we have to do something here. So I guess this is what they decided to go with, but it really just seems to be just kind of an appeasement here.
Nate, if Michigan is 4-4, does this suspension even happen?
I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about what Dan was saying yesterday when I was sort of like reading about all this news as it was coming down. And I just kept thinking that all the coaches seemed pretty quiet about condemning him. You know, like when the cheating scandal happened for the Astros, everyone got angry, right? It was like almost too angry at times. But all the coaches in the Big Ten, when they get pushed on this, they're all kind of like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to just wait and see. It seemed like everyone was kind of like doing it or kind of knew. You know, James Franklin was like, oh, well, we changed our signs over the bye week anyways. You know, it doesn't really, whatever. Like it's a normal thing. So it doesn't strike me as that unusual. And it seems like something that all the rest of them are just kind of hoping goes away, given that there's nobody that's really just going nuts on this. The timing of it is the weirdest. Like they sent him like right after their plane landed in Pennsylvania. They were like, oh, by the way, you're suspended.
Yeah. They've known about this for weeks, and nothing dropped yesterday that was like a bombshell that was like, oh, wow. The NCAA has to do something. This has been going on for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden they're in Happy Valley for a huge game, and the Big Ten's like, you know what? You can stay in the hotel. Dad, are you suspicious of the timing here, like the rest of us?
Look, the NCAA has their own time frame. They had to investigate this, and I guess the timing just happened to coincide with this Nittany Lions game going to Happy Valley. But let me tell you this: the guy should have gotten suspended for the whole season. We're going to suspend you for the last 3 games so you can stay in your hotel and watch the game. But then you'll be back in the playoffs, and if you're in the championship, you'll be back in the. Screw that. The guy knew it. You can't tell me that Harbaugh doesn't know that he's sending a coach there in these other games that. First of all, how do you get any other team sidelines? Like, how do you even do that? So that's got to be flushed out. This isn't like stealing signs when you're in the stands, right? And you got a video camera, you're trying to figure it out. Or they used to do back when we played or I played, the guy, if there was a guy on second base, he'd try to steal the signs. You'd call your catcher out and change him. I mean, but that's part of the game, right? That's how the game is played. I mean, they were sending people physically to opponents' games, getting on the sidelines and trying to steal their signs to get an edge. And I thought the punishment for Harbaugh is nonsense. If you're going to suspend him for the season and be done with it. See it in 2024. The way they did this is, you're going to sit the next 3 games out, but we're not going to have you sit out in the playoffs, and you're not going to be able to sit out the championship. So if you make the play, you can still be a champion, you still hold the trophy. You know what? It's more NCAA incompetent baloney. This I tell you, the whole NCAA has so many problems. This is just epitomizes it.
John, to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, I don't think they can suspend him for the playoffs because I'm pretty sure the NCAA doesn't control that. So I think like the bowls and the college football playoff are outside the NCAA's jurisdiction. So I don't think they can suspend him for those games.
Okay, then suspend them for the first half of the season in 24. I mean, this suspension's a joke. What is it? Jack made the best line, Jack, when we were talking offline. My son, he said, "What the hell does he do anyway? He walks around the sidelines and looks dumb. He doesn't make any decisions except whether to go for something or punt. He doesn't call the plays. He doesn't call the defense. He doesn't call the offense.
Lord knows he hasn't had to make any decisions the first 9 weeks of the season."
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing, right? They haven't played anybody. So, and all they do is blow people out. I mean, he's a great recruiter, and I think he's a good developer. I don't know in game if it really affects the game that much. Like, he develops players. He gets them motivated. I'm just not sure he's, like, making all these really tough decisions or calling the plays in a way that's, like, affecting a game. Maybe he comes up with a game plan, maybe. But I think he just has good people around him, as all college football coaches do. I think it's the Big Ten that suspended him, so that would really solidify Dan's point that I don't even think it's – I mean, I guess the Big Ten is part of the NCAA kind of, but I'm almost positive it's the Big Ten that banned him from these 3 games, which are Big Ten games.
Yeah, the Big Ten commissioner is the one that is named in the appeal that he's filed.
Then where's the NCAA in this?
Well, I don't know.
I think they're still investigating. They move glacially, though. I mean,
yeah, they do. I mean,
down the road.
Yeah, and they're more, they affect things. They like to hand down sanctions via scholarships. I mean, that's how if they really feel like you acted egregiously, they're going to try to affect your program by taking away some scholarships and hindering what you can do in the recruiting. They're not really interested in banning coaches from the sideline. They don't do that. But that was a Big Ten decision. The Big Ten made that decision. And maybe they made the decision for a couple of reasons. But it's important to know the distinction between those two. So he's going to be able to coach in those bowl games and everything else. Nothing really bombshell, like we said, happened where it looked more egregious than yesterday. But, we'll see. I mean, this kind of stuff, I think most coaches are probably doing some iteration of this, and Michigan got caught because they're number 2 in the country, and they did it in a way that was not sneaky at all.
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh's like the least nuanced person in college football. Like, if there was someone that was just going to be like, oh, everyone does it, we'll do it too, and then just be so blatant about it that they get caught, it's Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I mean, I think these guys change their signs all the time for this type of reason. It's why they are always, when they're on TV, speaking behind the paper and making sure that nobody can pick anything up. I'm just not sure that this warrants the level of outrage that I think we see with some other with some people. And I think a lot of it is because people don't like Michigan. That's true. And they're undefeated. And as Dan said, they haven't really played anybody. So then they draw a bunch of ire for being undefeated without having played anybody, much like maybe Florida State, although I think Florida State's strength of schedule is a little better. But we're going to talk about Michigan a little bit later.
It's definitely better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Well, they
it's
beat Clemson, right? So I mean,
They beat Clemson. They beat
Clemson-
LSU.
Yeah, they beat
They beat
LSU.
Duke.
and they beat
Who
Duke.
did,
Yeah.
who did Michigan beat? Rutgers? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Hey, look,
That's literally Michigan's best win.
Rutgers is 6-3.
Rutgers, I know.
So
And who's
I beat
Rutgers beat?
Oh,
Rutgers is good.
No, Rutgers is not good.
oh,
They're
he's going back on the
6-3.
Rutgers thing. Here we go, Gibbs. That's because he was going to go to Rutgers. I had to fly him up there to go on the look in the campus. Went to a football game and a basketball game. He was all hyped on going to Rutgers, and then he said, "Nah, I ain't going to New Jersey." And he went to Ole Miss. Good move, son.
Yeah, you
Go
probably
Reds.
beat Rutgers, so don't rewrite history. Okay, we're going to start with Rutgers at number 22, Iowa, traveling to Iowa City there for an interesting game. Takes a while to find the spread for the Rutgers game because DraftKings usually doesn't carry it since they're based in New Jersey. So the spread I found, which may be different than what y'all have, is Rutgers plus 1.5. Over under. I don't even have the over under actually.
So it should be 28.5, maybe 27.5.
Yep.
Okay, so I did have the over under. I thought I did not write that down correctly. There's no way the over
It should
under
be
is
21.
I forgot it's Iowa. So Dan, we'll start with you. I watched a lot of the Rutgers Ohio State game. They gave them a game in the first half and then fell apart as happens with teams like Ohio State, Georgia. That happens all the time where teams that aren't on their level might give them half a game, not a full game. But then there's Iowa who can't score. What do you see in this game?
Yeah, so I used to live in Iowa. I have several friends who are Hawkeye fans, and Iowa's chant is until the game is won, and I like to joke with some of my friends until a point is scored. We might not get a point scored in regulation in this game. Like that literally might happen. Like it sounds insane to say this with a 28.5 point total, but the under actually looks like the play here. Like it would have hit last year. It was 27-10 last year, but that was because Iowa had 2 defensive touchdowns. So it would have cashed last year if not for that. I think that this might actually happen.
So and we'll talk about the under here in a minute. We'll go to Nate, but I just have to say, Dan, every time we talk, I feel like you're a character out of a John Steinbeck novel. Every time we mention like a school or state, you're like, oh yeah, I used to live there. I worked for Bucky Owens back in the day. I covered the beat for the AAA high school. It's just like, geez, man, you have moved a lot of places. It's not like you're 60.
I've lived or worked in every I state.
That's crazy. That's
also every I state, Virginia, New Jersey, Missouri, and now Hawaii and Florida.
In Florida, yeah. So every time we mention a new state, you're like, oh yeah, I used to live there and cover this team. So kind of interesting.
Isn't there a song? Doesn't Johnny Cash have a song about that in all the places he's been or something? That should be your theme song.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you
go. Nate, you like the under here? I think you do.
I do. Yeah, I mean, it's just so hilariously low that I think you just have to do it just for the novelty alone. But if it's this low, it's this low for a reason. Both these teams play really slow on top of playing bad defense or bad offense. They play really slow tempo. They run the ball more than they pass, for whatever that's worth offensively. And the defenses are pretty decent. I mean, especially for Iowa. So yeah, I mean, I think the under is the way to go. I mean, I guess have fun just watching it just be horrible. It's like betting the under in a soccer game, but any score could really blow it up. But I think the under is the play.
Yeah, I think the under is the play too. Dad, what do you think? Under 28?
I mean, I'm not gonna bet. I mean, it's a couple touchdowns, right? Look, no, I'm not betting. I don't. First of all, I don't bet over under, and so I have no interest in that. But here's Iowa. I mean, they're tied for the Big Ten West at 7-2. They're number 22 in the country. They're at home, and they're a point over Rutgers. And the reason they're only a point over Rutgers is because they don't score. So if it was 5 or 6, everybody bet Rutgers, figuring the game's going to be 13-10. I'm going to bet the Hawkeyes here. I'm going to lay the 1. I mean, Rutgers is just not that good, although they did play a decent first half last week, and I do like Scavano. But I mean, I like the Hawkeyes here at home. They should win this game. And yeah, could it be 6-3? Sure, but I think their defense is really, really good. But problem is they don't score. But like you said last week, they got 2 defensive touchdowns. Rutgers got to go on the road.
That was last year against Rutgers.
I think they just blew their wad last week in the first half of that game. Then they got blown out in the second half. And anyway, it's just as Jack was, I got to get back to the Rutgers story because I was thinking about it. You were right. I'm the one that took you to Rutgers. You didn't want to go. I'm the one that took you because I was trying to get you to go to college in the Northeast because you had a straight A average and you're really smart. And I'm like, you don't want to go to one of these Southern schools. So let's look at Rutgers. Let's look at Fairleigh Dickinson, where I went. Let's look at Northeastern. So I'm the one that drug him up there. And finally he said to me, look, when he decided to go to Ole Miss, he said, look, Dad, I love you, but you conceived me in the South. You raised me in the South. You lived in the South with me. You took me to the South. I'm a Southerner. I'm going to Ole Miss. I'm going to a Southern school. I never had an answer for that because he was right. So that's what that was the story.
This is such boring radio. Okay, let's get to Miami at Florida State.
Miami, before we move on, Iowa's past 3 games, 22 or less has been the total in all of them.
I'm telling you, that's the play. And I mean, Rutgers can't score either. They like to play defense, so all they do is run the ball. Okay, so Miami traveling to Tallahassee for, I think, a big game here. Miami's plus 14, over under 51, so big total there. FSU's undefeated. Miami's like 6-3. Dan, can Miami cover this spread? Or, I mean, you've written about Florida State quite a bit for Godzilla wins, so I feel like you have a pretty good idea of this team.
Happening competition at times, and then at times like world beaters. And I think with this being a rival game, I think we're going to get the good Florida State version here. So I don't think Miami is going to stay all that close here. The Hurricanes did not look good at all against North Carolina State. They really haven't looked good at all in ACC play other than a double overtime win against Clemson. But beyond that, they had the infamous kneel-down game with Georgia Tech, lost to Carolina, barely escaped Virginia, and then only managed 6 points against NC State. You've got to score to beat Florida State, and Miami just can't hang.
Nate, what do you think?
I think I lean towards Miami just because Miami
always disagreeing with Dan. I knew you would.
I know. I just come on here.
I mean, last week, last week, how much did you make off that? Like $500, Nate. I last week.
Ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
I guess where I'm at with it is Miami plays up to the better teams they played, right? They beat A&M, that double OT win over Clemson that Dan mentioned. And then when they play bad teams, they just look ridiculously bad. Like the Georgia Tech game, which was the kneel down game, and then NC State. So I mean, I guess if they play up or down, this is probably a pretty big game for them. They're out of the ACC championship picture. But this is still a big opportunity to knock off an in-state rival. I'll take Miami plus 14.5 here. I think they do a good enough job sort of slowing down the run that they can at least put the brakes on a little bit of Florida State's offense. So yeah, 14.5.
Dad, 30 seconds.
Oh, look, rival game. I mean, this is a rival game. I'm with Nate here. I'm going to fade Dan. Absolutely, Miami plays up to their competition. They beat Texas A&M. You look at FSU, they look undefeated. That you think, okay, this team is going to get in the, somehow get in the playoffs. You wouldn't think there's going to be a letdown today. These games are always tough. If you think I'm going to lay 14.5 against the Hurricanes going into Florida State, no way. This is going to be a very tough game. I wouldn't be shocked if Miami upset them and won the whole thing. So I'm gonna go with the Canes. They are 6-3. I'm gonna go with the Canes plus 14.5, which I think is an overlay.
Rutgers is also 6-3, and you guys said they suck. So come on.
Yeah, they suck.
So, Dad, one of the reasons you're so sharp on these games is because you get incredible sleep with Healthy Cell REM Sleep. Tell our listeners how they can get a hold of some of the best sleep product on the market.
You guys probably look at me and you say, you get up at 3:45 a.m. every day. Here you are up early on Saturday, yet you look fresh as a daisy and you got all this energy. How do you do it? HealthyCell.com. Because I take my REM sleep every night, 15 minutes before you go to bed, right? I am out like a light and I sleep in those 4 stages of sleep, right? Now I got a CPAP machine, so I don't snore, but I would snore with this stuff because you just go right out with it. But it supports all 4 stages of sleep. This is the best thing you can do for your life. I don't care how old you are. Joe takes it every night. We got him on it. He's got to get 9-10 hours a night. They actually monitor his sleep with that ankle thing in West Virginia, that ankle bracelet thing. So if they're not getting 9 hours, they have to do more sprints or something. It's, this thing. Go to healthycell.com/Godzilla, promo code Godzilla. You're going to get 20% off. You get this, get a 1 month supply of a REM sleep. You're going to love it, and you're going to sleep like a baby. And then you got to jump out of bed. You feel rejuvenated. Best sleep you're going to get. HealthyCell.com. REM sleep. Do it now. Plus, they're a sponsor of Godzilla Wins. They believe in us. They believe in you. So help us out. Check this out. You can thank me later when you get up and have the best night's sleep ever. And Jack, when you come here for Thanksgiving week, we got plenty of REM sleep for you. Right here, got an extra box just for you. You're going to sleep like a baby.
Looking forward to it. Let's move on to Duke at UNC. Stay in the ACC here. 2 teams that I think we've talked a lot about this year. Big rivalry here. 2 teams who could score. UNC is a 13-point favorite, -13 as far as the spread I saw earlier today. 51.5-point over. Dan, we'll start with you as always. You've covered these 2 teams extensively as well for Godzilla Wins, I believe. You see anything you like this?
I mean, it's tough to do here, given what Carolina does each week, but I think I have to lean toward the under here, given that I'm not sure Duke can score, because without Riley Leonard, this Blue Devil offense just looks totally helpless. So 13 worries me because North Carolina has a success allergy, but I think the under is probably the play here because I just don't trust Duke's backup quarterback in the slightest.
Nate, does UNC have a success allergy?
I don't think they have this much of a success allergy. I don't think it's this severe. I think they can cover it's at 13 now. When I was looking at it, it was like closer to 14. I think -13 is definitely a play on North Carolina, given Duke's sort of issues scoring. They just haven't been the same team since Leonard went down. Grayson Loftus, their freshman backup, was not good against Wake Forest. This just looks like a game that UNC should roll. Of course, often I look at that and they don't, like Dan sort of alluded to, but covering 13 against a team that's really struggling to move the ball without their stud quarterback, I think that's fair. So I'll take North Carolina here.
Dad, did you like the favorite?
It's Doggy Saturday. Hey, I'm fading Dan again.
Wow.
This is Dan Fade Day, baby. You guys are whining about.
Wait a minute. I thought you don't bet totals.
I don't bet totals. I don't bet totals.
Then how are you fading me?
He's not listening to you.
I'm just fading you because I feel like it because I don't bet totals.
John, if you're fading me, that means you're playing me over.
Pick the football game. Like, we got fans out there saying they're Duke fans, and well, who do you guys think? Oh, I'm going to bet the under because Iowa doesn't score. I'm going to bet the over or the money line. Come on, man. Pick the game here, right? Pick the game. Get in the game.
Isn't that what you're here for?
I'm here to pick winners. Winners, baby. Winners. We're here to win the game. Now, here's why I love Duke in this game, right? I don't care who the quarterback is. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run the football right down UNC's throat. They have a great run game. They have a great defense. I understand the quarterback is out, right? They've had trouble. This team has got one of the best defenses they put together in the ACC. And I'm looking at this game, and I'm like, I'm going to get 13 points with Duke, who runs the ball. So it's like handoff a Ramit. They run the football. They got a great defense. And nobody can sit here and say that UNC and Mac Jones has overperformed, okay? Every game they're in, every game is a struggle. Every game is close. and you sit there and they end up winning, right? That's why they're, what is it? They're 7-2, but they got 2 ACC losses. So this is not the powerhouse everybody thought it was going to be. I love Duke, and this is my best bet of the week. I can't believe I'm getting 13. I love Duke plus 13. I think they got a shot to win the game. And remember, I bet underdogs and take the points when I think they can win the game. Nobody would be shocked here if Duke won this game, and I'm getting 13. Best bet of the weekend.
Yeah, lots of people will be
Okay,
shocked.
so you're fading Nate, not me.
I'm fading you both. I'm fading all the millennials.
Yeah, he just wasn't listening to you, Dan. As soon as someone else
Okay, he doesn't listen to any of
gets
it.
on the phone,
As soon as you guys start talking about taking the over under, I tune out because I could care less.
I don't think you tune in at any point until it's your turn to talk, and then you just start.
As soon as we start
No,
talking,
I hang on Nate Perry's every word.
Yeah, right.
Every word.
And then you think you're fading me instead of him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, hanging on to everyone's word here.
I'm fading.
Okay, so let's go to Utah at Washington. Huge game here. Look, I mean, I'm just going to set y'all up with this. I think Utah is the best team in the country, outside of maybe Georgia.
I think you meant
I'm sorry,
Washington.
Washington.
What?
I think Washington.
wow. Okay,
Yeah, sorry.
you're about to be just red hot take.
Yeah, no. Yeah, Utah's not the best team in the country. I think Washington might be. And I would love to see them to continue to roll through the Pac-12. I just think their strength of schedule is so much more impressive than a lot of these other teams outside of maybe Georgia and Ohio State, who's played some really good teams. I know Florida State's played some good teams too, but I really like what I've seen out of Washington. They play big games all the time. Utah is an 8-point dog here, 49.5 point total. Dan, are you as high on the Huskies as I am?
No, I am not. I actually do not like what I have seen out of Washington lately. I think that ever since that game at Oregon, something has gone out of the Huskies. Like their last 3 games, a 8-point survival against Arizona State, 9 points against Stanford, and a 10-point win against USC's embarrassing defense. I mean, this is not the same team that we saw putting up big wins early in the season, and I think in the rematch against Oregon that they're likely to get, the Ducks are probably going to win that game. And it would not surprise me at all if Utah picks off Washington here. I think Utah does cover the 8.5.
Nate.
I'm fading Dan.
Okay, at least you paid attention to what I said.
I like Washington here. I like Washington just because, even though it's only a 10-point win against USC, the offense looked incredible. Penix looked
Whose
amazing.
offense doesn't?
I mean, everyone looks great against the Trojans, though. I mean, and I get that. But,
like, Sealands Grove High School could put up 50 against the Trojans.
I mean, yeah, their defense is bad. But, they looked great. I feel like this all the time with Utah, I guess, and I felt like this for years. Is they just don't feel like a real team because it's hard to quantify how they win. The defense is good, sure. They move the ball okay, but they have trouble scoring. Fine. Obviously the quarterback issue is real. I think for me, what it comes down to is that Utah just stinks at red zone efficiency. They stink at actually scoring the ball. So if that's a difference maker, I think that I kind of, like Washington here, minus the point. So,
Dad.
Washington it is.
Well, this is no question about it. What this is, this very special day. This is Fade Dan Day, right? We're all fading Dan. Hey, Dan, even though I'm fading you today, I always read your columns as soon as they come out. So you do a great job. You can follow Dan. He's got the best columns about the best place. Go to GodzillaWins.com, GodzillaWins.com. Get on there every day. You can read Dan. He's also associate editor. But we are going to fade him today. And we're going to fade Dan here because I'm with Jack. I think Washington is the most underrated team in this whole discussion. Right now on DraftKings, and I bet them, they're 13-1 to win the championship. 13-1. This is not a team that should be 13-1. They shouldn't be ranked number 5. They should probably number 3 or 4 in the country. Certainly better than Florida State. So this is a game they got to win. If you're going to get serious about a national championship at home, you've got to beat Utah. You got to beat them handily. This has got to be a statement game for them. They've beaten a lot of good Pac-10 team, Pac-12 team, Pac-12 much better than people thought they were. This team is scary offensively. I mean, they're frightening. So I'm going to go to Washington here, -8.5. This can't be a field goal game. They have to make a statement if they're going to get in the big time. I love the Huskies here, -8.5 over the Utes. And I like them to win the championship at 13-1.
Yeah. I mean, I do like the 13-1 bet, but now that Dad's all over Washington, I kind of feel I'm kind of cooling off. Maybe Washington will lose. If he's this confident, usually it turns out the opposite way. So I was high on the Huskies about 10 minutes ago. Now I'm like, I don't know. Maybe they're not that good.
Fade John.
So yeah, hashtag fade.
13-1. Honestly, if you really look at 13-1 for the Huskies to win the thing, that's pretty good. Hey, let me just throw this other thing about DraftKings. Once you sign up for this, honestly, they have bonuses every single day, and these are a lot of fun. Now, at the beginning, I didn't do them, but they got 50% profit boost bonus, 100% profit bonus, parlay bonuses, NHL bonuses, and I really try to bet those because they're giving you a tremendous advantage. Now, there's limits on it, like there's a $25 or $50 limit. Ann's got a $10 limit because she doesn't bet that much. But if you're betting $50 a game or something, they'll give you a 25 limit. But like right now in the Michigan game, they've got a 50% profit bonus. Any team you bet, money line or the line, they're going to give you a 50% bonus on that. So it's -110, you're going to get +140 for your same bet. It's a lot of fun. And by the way, I hit the Penguins on bonuses 3 nights in a row. Go Pens.
Yeah, go Pens, I guess. So, one of the reasons why I'm able to stay so clear-headed about the Washington Huskies and move around so deftly with my moving target analysis is because I drink Beard Vet coffee every morning. And this is the best coffee I've ever tasted in America, hands down. Some of the best coffee you can get out there on the market. And right now, if you go to beardvet.com, they have a Thanksgiving sale on a bunch of different products, coffee and beard products alike. You can get it in the whole bean. You can get the grounds. You get the espresso. You get all sorts of things at Beard Vet, and the Thanksgiving sale, you can save a ton of money. If you go to beardvet.com, use that promo code Godzilla. It gives you 10% off of all of your coffee and beard needs. The best thing I like about Beard Vet, one of the best things anyway, other than their amazing product, is the fact that logistically they just ship it so quick. So you get that coffee really quick. You don't have to wait around. It's not 5, 6, 7, 2 weeks till the coffee shows up, and they don't charge you an arm and a leg for priority shipping. They just get it out the door real quick and let the U.S. Postal Service do the rest. So what I want everybody to do, if you support this show and if you love coffee, you love good coffee, go to beardvet.com. That's beardvet.com. Put in the promo code Godzilla, 10% off all of your coffee needs. All right, we're going to run through a couple games really quickly. We're going to spend a little bit more time on Ole Miss, Georgia, our saucy college football game of the week than we usually do. But I want to get to a couple big games before we do that. We can't skip out on some of these. So we're going to start with Tennessee at Mizzou, Dan's alma mater, and a team that I think is pretty plucky. I mean, they put up a good fight against Georgia for most of the game. And, they're facing a Tennessee team. Now they're at home. Tennessee's also been really impressive this year outside of a couple clunkers, I guess. They've been good, though. Tennessee is a 3-point favorite, Dan, which shows you what everyone thinks of Missouri not having really beaten anybody impressive. Over under 58. A lot of offense here. What do you think?
I hate myself for this, but I have to take Missouri.
There he is.
I mean, Tennessee just can't figure this out on the road. They got routed by Florida in Gainesville, which never should have happened. They should have had Alabama after the way they played in the first half. That didn't work out. Something just happens to this Tennessee team when they go into hostile environments, and they really just should not be favored when they're on the road. So I hate doing it, but I have to go with Missouri here. So go ahead and tell me why Tennessee covers this.
Go ahead,
Nate.
Nate.
Yeah, I will. Actually, so I mean, the struggles on the road are real. I mean, they do have that win against Kentucky, I guess, but that's not exactly convincing. So I'm not going to sit there and argue that it is. But what I will say is that I think that this is a really bad spot for Missouri after playing Georgia. The physical effects of playing someone like Georgia or Alabama are hard on teams. I think that, last week was probably they gave it everything they had against Georgia, obviously in a losing effort. The bigger concern for me is injuries for Missouri after that game. It looks like Burden might be limited. I think he'll play, but he's the biggest part of Missouri's offense. Luther Burden is out, then that's a problem. If he's limited, that's a problem considering what a huge sort of target share he is in the passing offense. So all of that makes me sort of reluctant to bet Missouri. Missouri's defense stinks. I think Tennessee's a good team that's had some
you're
weird
talking
luck.
yourself into your bet. Like this is like Nate Perry self therapy here, right? You're talking yourself into the bet.
Not everybody makes every decision in 4.5 milliseconds like you do.
Oh no, I've been studying this all week.
Okay, go ahead. Tell us why you like.
What
was Nate's pick? What was your?
You interrupted him. It's Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
What
go ahead. It's Tennessee. Go ahead.
Listen, I'm betting Mizzou for one reason. Dan. Dan. This is the anti-fade. Okay? So here's a guy that went to the University of Missouri. Every week, Dan Andrew gets on our show. Like Jack, he's all upset about Ole Miss because deep down, that's where they went. And they get nervous, and so they pick against their team. Picks against them every single week. Says they suck every single week. Went there, graduate. By the way, great journalism school, one of the best in the country. Goes there every week, comes on, says how bad they are, picks against them. Now, out of the blue, with Tennessee coming to town, Dan is going to bet his alma mater, Missouri. Now, I don't need any analysis. I don't need anything else.
I thought you were researching all week.
If Dan,
Yeah.
I like Tennessee. I just changed my mind because I expected Dan to come on and say, "Oh, Missouri stinks. They can't stop anybody. They have no defense. They break your heart. They'll find a way to lose. Tennessee's coming to town. They're better, high-powered." And now he says, "Well, I'm going with my alma mater, Dan Angel. That's good enough for me, baby. I'm going with the Tigers. I'm taking the 1.5."
I think it was 3 in my book, but
it's 3 points.
I'm definitely comfortable with 3. I think the game will be close regardless. Might as well take the dog.
Yeah, you do know that my feelings about my alma mater are not the same as Jack's feelings towards his alma mater. Jack's comes from a place of actual fanship. Mine comes from a place of deep loathing.
Yeah. So for me, I'm just trying to protect my emotions because I've been hurt too much. I think Dan is just
just hates them.
Yeah, Dan just hates
them. Mine is annoyance of dealing with the media relations department for 4 years that I actually enjoy when they lose.
Yeah.
But you're still picking them. So, but
because Tennessee can't win on the road. So I'm not going to pick Missouri unless I have to, and this week I kind of have to.
I actually bet Tennessee earlier. I bet him earlier in the week, so I just went in DraftKings. Had to cancel my bet, which cost me $20. So I canceled the bet and then bet Missouri. But did I get 3? Because when I
have no idea. Let's move on.
Can I just say that this strategy makes absolutely no sense?
I mean, the fact that you bet against them every single week, and now you're betting on them, I don't need anything else. I mean, that's good enough for me.
All right, I don't need like us on the radio and you going through your phone like asking us what the spread is. That's not that.
It was 1.5. It went up to 3.
Let's move to Penn State, Michigan. We don't have that much time. We want to get Brian in here so we can talk UGA Ole Miss here for a little bit. So very quickly, we talked a lot about Michigan earlier, so we shouldn't have to do this for too long. Penn State and Michigan. Penn State is a 4.5 point underdog. Over-under is 45. So, Dan, we'll start with you. Just maybe 30 seconds. Who do you like in this game?
I got to take the under just because I can't trust Penn State here. I mean, I like both teams' defenses. Michigan hasn't played anybody, but Penn State, the one real game that their offense faced a huge test, they completely failed it against Ohio State. So I don't trust the Nittany Lion offense. I do trust the defense, and I do think that this is a low-scoring game. So I like the under.
Nate, you like the under, or you want to pick the spread?
I'll pick the spread. I'll pick Penn State here. I don't know if I've ever picked a Penn State game in a big game correctly, but I like Penn State here. I like the defense too. I mean, mostly this just comes down to like Michigan's schedule. Michigan has played nobody good. I think their schedule's like the strength of schedule up to this point is like over 100th in the country, like 110th I think, or 111th. Penn State's got a real defense. They're probably the best, passing defense in the country. Great pass rush. I think that they'll make JJ McCarthy's life harder than it's been when he's been playing clowns. So, this is a real game. I think that people are kind of off Penn State because they never show up for big games, but I like them plus the points here.
Dad, 30 seconds, Penn State, Michigan.
I don't like Jim Franklin, Coach Franklin. I don't like Penn State overall, but you guys are right. Michigan's played nobody. They got the Harbaugh thing running around. He's suspended coming off the bus. Distraction for the team. Penn State's at home. I'm going to take the 4.5.
All right. So we are going to transition into our college football saucy game of the week here, brought to you by Red State Barbecue. Ole Miss traveling to Athens to take on the undefeated Georgia Bulldogs. Ole Miss, the number 9 team in the country. Georgia number 2 or number 1, depending on where you're looking. Spread minus 10.5 for UGA. Big spread. Not a lot of love for Ole Miss, but I tend to agree with that. Over under 58.5. So big over under. That has a lot to do with the fact that Georgia can score, but Ole Miss doesn't do anything but play basketball on a football field. Now, Dad, before we get into the football game, we got to talk a little bit about Red State Barbecue. This is some of the best barbecue sauce I have ever tasted. How can our listeners get a hold of some of this incredible sauce at a great price?
Well, this is the saucy game of the week, and we love our Red State Barbecue. Go to redstatebbq.com. I tell you what, I've just put up my two of my favorites here, Texas Spicy, North Carolina. I also love the Memphis Sweet, right? Get a bunch of different bottles and try them. This is going to be the best barbecue sauce you ever had. Now, even your mom, not a barbecue sauce fan, now she's hooked on it. She loves her Memphis Sweet. I put it on my salmon last night, right? Steaks, briskets, hot dogs, hamburgers, whatever you got. There's 7 different flavors. Go to redstatebbq.com, promo code Godzilla10. You're going to get 10% off. And I tell you what, they're a great sponsor of our show. They're great people, but this is the best barbecue sauce you've ever had. They got so many different flavors. Try a couple to see which is best. All you got to do for the saucy game of the weekend, it is saucy, is go to redstatebbq.com. And when you're grilling, you're going to be thanking me when you got your red steak. Go to redstatebbq.com. Promo code Godzilla10, 10% off. Saucy game of the week.
Saucy game of the week. Ole Miss traveling to UGA. And we're going to welcome in our senior Georgia Bulldogs writer. Been writing for us for 2 years, covering the Georgia Bulldogs. One of the things that I always think about is, Brian, you have never picked a game. You have never written about a Georgia game in which they have lost. You've written for us for 2 years, and all they've done is win. So I keep thinking at some point they got to lose, but I don't know if it's this week. We're going to start with you, Brian. Just give our listeners a little bit of a preview of the matchup here, specifically what you see in the Georgia team, and maybe how they can win. I know you're definitely pulling for them.
Yeah, this is a great matchup. It's one that I think presents a lot of challenges for UGA. The biggest advantage they've got in this game is that it's at home. Kirby Smart, 4-0 with an almost 20-point per game margin of victory against top 10 teams in Sanford Stadium. Georgia hasn't lost at home since 2019 in that stinker to South Carolina where Jake Fromm couldn't hardly complete a pass. Carson Beck's on a different level. I think Georgia has some obstacles to overcome with Ole Miss, but they've got a real shot. And like we were mentioning earlier about Tennessee, Ole Miss is not the same team on the road this year. Over the last 2 seasons, they're averaging 17 points per game fewer on the road than they are at home. But I do think this Ole Miss team really presents some challenges. Good news for the Dogs. It seems like Brock Bowers has a role to play in this game. Kirby mentioned yesterday on an interview with the Pat McAfee show, he's a game time decision. He might be back and ready to go. If anything, he's just going to get the crowd juiced up. He might come in for a few plays. I'm not expecting a start. I don't know what role he'll play, but he's going to make sure that crowd is ready to rock and get Ole Miss in an uncomfortable situation. The big matchup, I think, in this game is the ability for UGA to stop Ole Miss's running game. Judkins and Bentley are great backs. Judkins is just a monster, probably the best back Georgia's faced this year, and Georgia's had real struggles stopping the run consistently. Missouri was able to run those stretch plays and punish them throughout the game, and Georgia's also had a hard time containing mobile quarterbacks this year. And I think Jackson Dart presents a challenge for this team as well. And on top of that, Georgia's missing their best run stopper at linebacker. Jamon Dumas-Johnson broke his arm last week, making a tackle on Brady Cook. So the replacement for that is likely true freshman C.J. Allen. Is he going to be enough? Brings a little more athleticism to the table than Dumas-Johnson, but obviously nowhere near the experience. Is he up to the task to, spy on Dart, contain Judkins, contain Bentley, and then again, can Georgia stop those explosives in this game? A lot of question marks. I think the matchups in some ways favor Ole Miss, but I tend to lean towards Kirby Smart over Lane Kiffin in the coaching category, and that home field makes a difference for Georgia.
Yeah, two things I want to ask you, Brian, then we'll get to the rest of our panel. I mean, as far as Lane Kiffin and Kirby Smart are concerned, I mean, Lane Kiffin has not really won a big game for Ole Miss. This happens every year, and then he kind of lays a huge egg. So definitely as an Ole Miss fan, worried about that. But the narrative for Georgia has been these slow starts, specifically the first drive that they face with that the defense is on the field. I think every team, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe every team has scored on Georgia in their first drive. We know Ole Miss can score quickly. We saw another sort of tepid start with Missouri, although, look, Missouri is I think a better team than a lot of people think, but another sort of slow start and then a second half adjustment. Is that a concern with a team that plays really fast and can really put up, they can put up 3 touchdowns, that's Ole Miss, before you really even have poured a soft drink, I guess. Is that a concern?
Oh, yeah. Georgia's got to start quick. You're right. Against SEC opponents, opposing teams are scoring right out the gate against Georgia. And Georgia's red zone defense this year is really poor. They're great at stopping you until you get to the red zone, but once you're there, you're getting 6. Georgia last week against Missouri, they started well. The problem they've had, and where Missouri was able to contain them, is they just weren't explosive. Georgia can't be doing 12-play drives and settling for field goals. And that's this, to me, if Ole Miss can keep Georgia out of the end zone a few times with some field goals and then hit on their own explosives, that's a recipe for an upset. At some point, Georgia's going to have to match explosive for explosive to compete in this game. They can't just methodically work their way down the field every drive.
The one thing I will say that I'm really nervous about when it comes to Ole Miss is Lane Kiffin is so antsy in these big games. He tends to make some decisions that are, especially early in the game, that really hurt them. It'll be a 4th down on Ole Miss's own 30, and he'll just go for it. And it always shows a little immaturity in playing in these big games, and I think Kirby Smart can really take advantage of that. Dan, 10.5-point spread here. Not a lot of love, as we said, for Ole Miss, although I think that's warranted. Do you like Georgia in the big spread, or do you like the over? I kind of love the over because Ole Miss just, especially in the second half, they just sort of fall apart defensively and everybody starts scoring.
Yeah, the over makes a lot of sense here. I think one play that I might look at is take Ole Miss on the spread in the first half, given Georgia's early struggles and how the Rebels do tend to fall apart later on in the game. And I think something that you touched on, how Lane Kiffin tends to make those early head-scratching decisions, I think part of that is because of the inferiority complex against Nick Saban, given that he's a former assistant of Saban's. And I don't think he's necessarily going to feel that same kind of awe facing Kirby Smart. So I think that might actually help Ole Miss's cause.
Nate,
But
um,
I lean toward first half Ole Miss, but Georgia to cover for the full.
yeah, look, I crushed some of those plays last week against Georgia. I took Missouri in the first quarter. I took Missouri in the first half. And then, Nate, I know you played the live bet, and Georgia covered that in the second half, which has been a good strategy because you can shave off a couple points while Georgia looks sluggish, and then they just come out like world beaters in the second half. But Nate, is this a game where you feel like Lane Kiffin does not have an inferiority complex?
This feels like a game that Ole Miss can win. It feels like at the very least a game that Ole Miss can be competitive in. Just because they do things well, like Brian was saying, that Georgia should struggle against. I think that Georgia will have problems against the run. Not just Judkins and Bentley, but also Jackson Dart's really dangerous. And Georgia has shown vulnerability against mobile quarterbacks. They struggled to contain mobile quarterbacks when they played Auburn. They struggled against Missouri. The same thing. So, and Jackson Dart is better. So from that perspective, I think that Ole Miss will move the ball. I think that the over is definitely a good play too. But this looks, doable for Ole Miss from my perspective. I think that Georgia will be in this. I think that Ole Miss has their own vulnerabilities that makes this over sort of intriguing, just because I'm not really sure that Ole Miss can stop a ton of what Georgia's trying to do if Georgia runs it, because Ole Miss's front seven have not looked awesome. So I think this is probably a little bit of a shootout. I think both teams are going to get their points. But in a shootout, I think I'd rather take the team getting 10.5 as well. It feels a lot like the last person to have the ball will win. So Ole Miss plus the points and the over is what I like.
There you go. All right, Dad, about 30 seconds, then we'll round out with me.
Well, Nate's on fire today. Look, Brian, I don't think I've seen you since you were like a junior in high school. So it's good to see you again, or senior in high school. Good to see you, Brian. You look great. And I know your analysis of the dogs every week on Godzilla Wins is so in-depth. It's so spot on. Jack tells me you take copious notes during the game just to calm yourself. But you better get 2 pens in case one doesn't run out of ink today, because this game is going to stress you out. Look, first of all, you guys just dissed Lane Kiffin. Very bad juju. He takes incoming golf balls from Tennessee fans. I love Ole Miss in this game. I think they got a shot to win this thing. I'm going to take 10.5. I'm going to go with the Rebs. And Brian, you're going to be taking copious notes the whole game, because it's going to be stressful. This thing's going down to the wire. I love the Rebs here. Could be the upset of the day.
You're going to get 2 types. You're going to get one or the other type of Ole Miss team today. You're either going to get the Ole Miss team that played LSU this year, or you're going to get the Ole Miss team that played LSU last year. And here's the key, Brian, and we'll end with you, is last year when Ole Miss looked like just nonsense against LSU, which was a better team than I think LSU is this year, Ole Miss was on the road. Lane Kiffin doesn't play well on the road. I think this is going to be a blowout. I think we're going to turn this game off in the second half. I think Lane Kiffin's going to lay another egg, and I like Georgia minus 10.5. Go ahead, Brian, and give us your pick, where you feel this game will go, and if you really are nervous, because I'm not nervous. As an Ole Miss fan, I know we're going to lose, and I know we're going to lose by 30. So
you have little faith.
Hey, I think Ole Miss gives Georgia all they can handle today. I have Ole Miss covering the spread in a close game. I think Lane Kiffin leaves nothing left in the chamber in this game. I mean, this is their season. It hangs on this. They win this, they've got a real chance of holding on for an upset, but maybe they've got a shot to make it into the SEC championship. He'll be aggressive on 4th downs. I think they've got a chance. I think the Rebels cover, but Georgia still is able to pull out a victory. I don't know if Ole Miss can do it for 4 quarters against Georgia.
I think they do it for 2.5. I think things really fall apart in the second half. I've seen that a lot in these Ole Miss games, but we'll see. Very exciting to see how this game plays out. We want to thank Dan Angel, as always, for joining us. You can find him on Twitter at DanAngel11 and on Instagram at Dan.Angel11. And want to thank our Georgia Bulldogs writer, Brian Butcher, for joining us for the very first time on this show. I'm glad you could make some time, Brian, to join us. Always great to see you. And if Georgia does win this game and starts to run the table, we definitely want to have you back to talk about the SEC championship and possibly the national championship, going for a three-peat. Nobody seems to be able to figure out the UGA Bulldogs, but we shall see if it happens this week with Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss team.
Go Reds.
Go Reds, sure. In 1 minute, we'll be right back. We're going to be talking NFL with Darian Kelly and James Tillman III, covering all the games, talking all the storylines. Do not go anywhere. We will see you soon.
You're listening to Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network. For a deeper dive without the jive, visit the website of winners, GodzillaWins.com. Let's get back to the show with the guys in the know, John, Jack, and Nate. It's Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
All right, welcome back to Godzilla Wins Pick Show. We're here with James Tillman III, resident Bears super fan and senior and analyst for the Bears right now for the NBA at large, which has just started their season. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We are here talking some NFL, but before we do that, Dad, I know you have a special announcement. You want to welcome some new listeners.
I'm fired up. I really want to welcome our new listeners on our new radio station, WENO AM 760, The Flame in Nashville. Thanks for being with us today. Every Saturday, 8 to 10, right here on WENO, the new AM 60, The Flame. You can get the best sports picks and sports analysis. That's going to be 7 to 9 Central Time. So right now in Nashville, it's 8:02. So thanks for joining us. First hour college, second hour pro football. You're going to love this show. And don't forget, in Nashville, WENO, even though I'm a Titans fan and I love my Titans, everybody knows that. I love my team. We are the official affiliate, NFL affiliate of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if you want to tune into a Steelers game, we carry the Steelers in Nashville on AM 760, The Flame. That game will be on Sunday. The pregame show starts at noon, and then you'll have Steelers football. You got Titans football, you got Steelers football. You want to tune into the games, you're good to go. Welcome, Nashville.
All right. John, you want to tell us about MyPillow while we got a second?
I tell you what, I love MyPillow. I love Mike Lindell. Guy's a great guy. But I'm all about, because I get up so early every day, 6 days a week even for this show, but I'm getting up at 3:55, 3:45 every day. You just don't get a lot of sleep. The sleep that you get's got to be great. That's why I love MyPillow price. You got Christmas coming up. Here's what you get with MyPillow. There's something for everybody. Can't think about, what should I get for Christmas? What should I get my son or daughter? What should I get this? What should I get my wife? Go to mypillow.com/Godzilla, promo code Godzilla. You got the comforters, you got the sheets, you got the towels, you got the slippers. If you don't have the MyPillow slippers, Nate, you are depriving yourself of the greatest thing in life, because these things, man, you get up, you slip these things. As soon as I get home, I take my shoes off, boom, I put my slippers on. It's like walking in heaven, walking on air. All you got to do is go to mypillow.com, promo code Godzilla. Slippers right now, $39.95. Can't beat that. Everything is there. But and the MyPillow 2.0, it's got the cooling sensation. You're going to love these products. They make great Christmas gifts. And look, if you love our show, you got to love our sponsors. MyPillow has believed in this show from the beginning. Godzilla Wins. Thank you for doing that. But their products are phenomenal, and you get great savings. MyPillow.com/Godzilla, promo code Godzilla. Get it now. Great for Christmas. And here's what you absolutely need to get: the MyPillow comforter. This thing is amazing. Get that. You're going to be so happy. And don't let your cat sleep on it. I got to put mine in the closet.
There you go. Okay, James, welcome to the show. Before we start picking the games, we got to talk about the Bears. Look,
Go Bears.
3-7, trending upward. New quarterback. They escape Thursday night football as the Panthers miss a field goal at the end, which was the most.
That's a great way to put it.
Also, the dumbest way to cover a spread. I think the spread was Bears
3.5.
3.5. So if you had the Panthers plus 3.5, right? So Panthers plus 3.5, they kick that field goal, nightmare scenario. Now maybe the Panthers lose by 7 or 6. Best way to cover a spread when you got the Panthers plus 3.5 is to have them miss a field goal at the end and end happy. Only people never rooting for overtime are the sickos who have money on the game. I think
That's right.
Just needed to end. I know Nate's been there a bunch of times.
We've all been there. We've all been there blowing those overtime games when you get 5 and somebody kicks a 60-yard field goal to tie it, and you get beat by 6. We've all been there.
Yeah, I know. There'll be games I'll be watching. Nate'll just be texting me, no overtime.
Just die right here.
Just or
I went with James. I went with James last week, but I wouldn't lay the 3.5. I can't lay 3.5 in the Bears. I bet the money line at minus 175. Not the best odds, but I ended up winning that bet. But and I did read your column, James, and I did bet it because you did pick the Bears minus 3.5. But I bet the money line.
James, what'd you think about the win? I mean, are you excited, or is it just we beat the Panthers by 3?
Yeah, I think you phrased it best when you said escapes. I mean, I was expecting a little bit more. I'm pretty sure the people at Soldier Field were expecting a bit more. I mean, what was they 1-7 coming into the game? Bryce Young was coming off a game in which he threw 3 interceptions, and 2 of them for pick sixes. So I was expecting a little bit better. But I mean, they played well enough to win, obviously. But I mean, for me personally, it's not anything to go be excited about. I mean, they get 10 days off before their next game against the Lions. So I think that that's going to be a reality check more so than anything. So
yeah. Best thing about a Thursday night game when you're a struggling fan base is you don't have to watch them for 10 days. You get a little breather, almost like second time.
Your weekend, James.
Yeah, really. Yeah, at least you can breathe this weekend, not have to watch your team struggle through another game.
But they're 2-0 on Thursday. Go figure.
Yeah.
Then we've been blessed with 2 Bears wins on Thursday night football this season.
That's incredible that they're
NFL doesn't care about our happiness.
You're right. So they're 1-5 on Sunday, but if you catch them, if the Bears can catch everyone on short rest, watch out.
The guy who only has Amazon Prime and no other TV is like, I don't know. The Bears are pretty good.
Right? They beat the worst team in the NFL, the Panthers, and they got to survive a missed field goal. But then they did blow out Washington, right? So they beat the Commanders, but. Yeah, so what's the deal just before we move on with Justin Fields? How long is he out? What's the deal with that?
They're still saying he's, they're still evaluating him going forward. Matt Eberflus has been saying in the press conferences that he's getting better. The grip is getting better. The velocity of throwing the football is getting better. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him start against the Lions. But, obviously, looks like with everything else, it's a wait-and-see scenario right now.
Yep.
Has Matt Eberflus always looked like he's in the Jersey mob, or is that new? I feel like I was watching Thursday night being like, why is this guy, what does he look like? He looks like he should have a leather jacket out there. I don't know if that's just me, but I was like, man, why does this guy look like a tough guy? I don't know where that came from. I mean, I've definitely seen him.
He's part of the Gambino. He's part of the Gambino family.
Yeah, I mean. Maybe
if this team played as tough as he looks, then they'd be in much better.
Yeah, I know. Probably they're not the toughest team. So let's move on to some of the games for Sunday. We'll pick some of these games. Should be a lot of fun here. Really interesting matchups. We're going to start with the Indianapolis Colts traveling to Foxborough, play the Patriots. Colts are a 2-point favorite. 43 is the total here. Patriots haven't looked that great this season, but neither really have the Colts. James, we'll start with you. What do you like in the Colts-Patriots matchup this Sunday?
I'm going to go with like you said, both of them have been rather bad. I'm looking at the ATS stuff here. Colts are 2-6 against the spread in their last 8 versus the Pats, and they're 0-5 against the Pats in the last 5 road games. But the Pats are actually 2-11 against the spread in their last 13, and they're 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 home games. So neither team really has a stellar record against the spread right now. But that being said, being the Colts have played a little bit better, I'm going to go with them to. I think it's safe to go with them in the 2 points.
Nate, what do you think?
Oh, I mean, my sort of baseline starting this is that in the international games, favorites tend to win and cover. That's just sort of what we've learned in these games. Better team sort of goes out there and wins. There's not a lot to be excited about if you're a Patriots fan right now. I mean, this team just looks bad, and they look like unsafe. Like there's not. Sometimes you look at a team and you think, well, if they just fix this, they'll be okay. The Patriots look like they just need to demolish the building and just maybe try and do something else. Like there's no more fixing things. Like the whole team is bad. The foundation is cracked. So I think I just got a bet on the Colts. I don't know. I think the Colts are a better team. It's not sexy. I mean, and they're not a better team than many teams in the NFL, but they're better than the Patriots. So I like the Colts as a small favorite here.
Dad, I saw a clickbaity headline a while ago that said Robert Kraft's home run choice to coach the Pats next season is Mike Vrabel. So maybe he's making some back channeling there. I can't imagine Vrabel would leave a somewhat stable environment for not so stable, but you never know. It is the Patriots. What do you like in this game?
Well, he's one of the highest paid coaches in the NFL, right? Mike Vrabel is.
He's a good coach.
Right up there. He's right up there with the top 3. Might be in the top 2, but Amy, the owner's paying him a lot of money. He's the personality of that team. I really would be shocked, especially with this new young quarterback we've got that looks like he might have a future. I doubt Vrabel leaves. But I'm like on the Nate train today. I don't know what it is, Nate. I'm on the Nate train going. I like your pick here with the Colts. The favorites seem to win on these international games. But the Patriots are a dumpster fire. I mean, that's the whole thing. They're playing for nothing. If you're in the Colts right now, you got a future. I know your quarterback is out till next season, but you got a future. You got a decent defense. I think they go there. They win this game. If you're on the Patriots, what are you playing for? Next season's draft picks, basically. You don't know if the team is stable. You don't know if the coach is going to be there. You don't know if the GM is going to be there. This thing is a disaster, albeit a couple good games they've had. So I'm going to go with Indy minus the 2.
So this is a Germany game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going with Indy minus 2. I mean, these international games. I mean, underdogs don't ever win them. I mean, I don't know why, but it seems like if you're England or Germany, you bet the favorite, you win.
Yeah, I always overlooked that. I thought they were playing in Foxborough. I never seem to catch these international games. I can't believe they play them every week now. It's crazy. Let's move on to Houston, traveling to Cincinnati, playing the Bengals here. Kind of an interesting spread. I'm going to start with Nate. He's all over the Texans all the time. Texans are +6, over under 47. I mean, I know the Bengals look pretty good, but I think the Texans can maybe cover 6 points, although they lost by the hook, I think, last week, so maybe not. What do you think?
Man, I don't know. I mean, yeah, they lost by the hook last week when they kneeled it for their 2-point conversion because their kicker was injured, which was just an awesome way to fail on cover. I mean, I think Cincinnati's looked great. Texans have looked great. I think I'd lean Cincinnati here, especially if it's -6.5, which it is, or -6 right now. I think I lean Cincinnati minus the 6. I mean, Houston's a good team, but I don't think they had a lot of problems last week, so I'll go with the Bengals.
James, what do you think?
I'm going to go with the Bengals as well. I'm going to piggyback off Nate. They're 4-1 in their last 5 against the spread overall, and they're a perfect 6-0 in their last November games against the spread. So I like them here, and that they won 4 in a row as well.
Dad, you don't like the Texans at all. You must.
No, screw the Texans. I'm going with the Bengals, and I don't care about the Texans, and they suck. I'm going with the Bengals. I just bet them at -6 because I'm afraid it's going to go up to 6.5. So I just got that in right under the wire. Of course, now that I bet him it's going to go up immediately when everybody knows who I bet on DraftKings, right? All the DraftKings people say, "Oh, Godzilla bet." They all jump on my stuff because I'm like, I get a lot of wins, so I get it. So the line goes up. So I jumped on the Bengals. Here's the thing: they're hot right now. And remember, the beginning of the season, Joey Burrow was hurt, right? When the Titans beat him 27-3, he couldn't move, couldn't really throw off that back injured calf he had. A lot of passes were underthrown, didn't get a lot of air under the ball. Now he's better. Bengals are back. This is going to be a blowout in Cincinnati. I'm going with the Bengals -6.
So let's move to the Niners Jaguars. I almost put this as the saucy game of the week.
Saucy.
Because, the Niners, the Jags are like 6-2 or 7-2, something like that. And I think the Niners are 6-3. They kind of fell apart after a hot start. But we talked about the Jags as a saucy game of the week a while ago, and I didn't feel like putting Dad through that again since he hates the Jags. So Niners traveling to Jacksonville. Niners are -3. So short spread here, over under 44.5. James, we'll start with you. Are the Niners, 4 weeks ago, you couldn't buy -3. I mean, the Niners were, a 10-point favorite. Didn't matter who they played. They were the best team in football. Now, I feel like you're getting a little bargain at -3, but maybe the Jags are for real. What do you think, James?
I'm kind of conflicted here. 49ers have dropped their last 3, and all of a sudden Jacksonville is hot. They've won 5 straight. So, but I am going to go out somewhat on the limb here. I'm going to go with San Francisco to snap their 3-game skid.
I mean, yeah. How long can they keep losing? Nate, you like Jaguars money line?
Yes. Yeah. I like Jaguars. San Francisco's just got a lot of injuries. We're still kind of waiting for some clarity as the final injury reports kind of are getting clarified. It looks like Debo's going to play. I think there's still some question marks about Trent Williams or how effective he'll be on the offensive line for San Francisco. Those are problems. San Francisco's just shown their issues over the last few weeks, but they've had a bye now. Hopefully, maybe they get some things figured out. But I still like Jacksonville here. The West Coast to East Coast travel thing is so tough on these teams. We saw Seattle sleepwalk into Baltimore and just get their doors blown off last week. The Jaguars are a good team, and I think that there's a real possibility that San Francisco could show up to this one a little sleepy. It's a 10 a.m. start for West Coast team, and the Jacksonville just gets out early and just sort of puts their foot on their throat. So I like Jacksonville here plus the 3.
Dad, tell us why the Niners.
This might be this might be one of the best bets of the week. You're getting 3 points at home with a team that's getting better every week. Look, I'm a Titans fan. I'd love to win a division. We're 3-5 or something. We got no shot here. Okay. This Jacksonville team they're winning games, and San Francisco is losing games. That Trevor Lawrence is getting better every week. They play defense. They run the football with ATN. This is a solid football team. They're going to win this division, and they're at home, and I'm getting 3 against a team on a 3-game losing streak that seemed like they peaked in the big Dallas win. Jacksonville here at home +3. I don't like the Jags. Obviously, they're a rival in my division. I'd rather see them get beat, but I think getting 3 at home is unbelievable. This game should be pick 'em. San Francisco's they've lost 3 in a row, and Jacksonville's at home, and all they do is win games. I like the Jags here +3.
Who knew John could be so sharp with the AFC South? All it takes is for the Titans to be out of the race, and now all of a sudden he sees the Jaguars with some clarity. Last year he was telling us how much they suck because he hoped they'd lose every week so the Titans could win the division. Didn't happen. Not going to happen this year. Jags are a good team. I like the +3 as well. Anytime you get that type of money at home, might as well take it. All right, so let's move on now to the Saints at Vikings. New Orleans traveling up to Minnesota. Saints are -3. Traveling up there, over under 41. Nate, we'll start with you. You like the Saints here?
Not really. No. Minnesota's obviously got some issues with Kirk Cousins out, but Josh Dobbs kind of did what he did last week, which is be a very competent backup quarterback. Really, this game just looks kind of like a defensive brawl to me. Both these defenses are shockingly pretty good. They're both, Football Outsiders has them both in the top 10 by DVOA. the way that I'm gonna bet this, and I don't do this very often because John's gonna start complaining like as soon as I start talking about this, is I kind of like to tease it. That way you get, if you do a 6-point teaser, you get the Vikings +9 instead of +3. You do +9. Maybe pair it with Baltimore. That takes it from
What?
-6.5 to -0.5. So you get basically Vikings +9, Ravens -0.5, and it pays the same as a straight bet. So that's sort of where I'm going. I just like a few more points in what should be a low scoring game, but I don't have a huge issue with taking the Vikings +3 if you do that too.
Tease this. I mean, what tells that teaser thing going? Who does that? What
Everyone.
That's like
Literally everyone.
My dad used to do it on the phone with his
bet
bookie in
in
Texas.
Vegas.
So it's an
They
old
love
thing.
teaser. It's a sucker bet. That's a
It's
sucker
not.
bet. Tillman
No, it's
knows
not.
that. Oh, I'm going to bet the teaser. Take 6, get 9.
What's a teaser, John?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You bet multiple teams. If you bet like 3, you get an extra 6, or 2, an extra 3, or something. You tease points or something. It's a
So you don't know what it is?
Yeah,
I
that
don't-
was not his.
I don't.
That's
I don't do sucker bets. Look, you're going to bet Josh Dobbs. I mean, it really comes down to, you're going to bet Derek Carr or you're going to bet Josh Dobbs, right? Josh Dobbs was on Tennessee, got him off the street, didn't win a game. Then he goes to Arizona, wins one game. Then he has a big comeback here with Minnesota. This guy's not an NFL quarterback. He had that one win, good for him. New Orleans has a legitimate quarterback playing in this game. I'm going to go with the Saints, lay in the 3.
A legitimate quarterback, Derek Carr.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
He's an NFL quarterback. I mean, the
Yeah.
guy's
Derek
won a
Carr.
multitude of NFL. Hey, I wish we had him, right? By the way, Tannehill has played his last snap for Tennessee. See ya. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's start. Let's go with the Packers Steelers next here. Big
Woo.
game for both teams. Dad's up there in the Berg, so we'll start with him. Steelers are -3, over under 38.5, so low under there. Dad, you're in the Berg.
Okay, I
this
got to
is
give a shout out. I got to give a shout out to Pittsburgh fans, right? I went last Thursday night. I got free tickets from the Steelers because I'm their NFL affiliate. I wanted the Titans game. They gave me 4 seats. I brought my friend Saxman and his son-in-law. It was too cold and didn't want to go. Right on the 50-yard line, 10 rows up. Never sat that close to an NFL game. Had my Titans bling on. Fans were super. One of the best places to watch a football game. So this week I get up on Friday because I'm carrying them now in Tennessee in my new station. What do I get in my email box? 2 more 50-yard tickets to the Steelers game against the Packers, of which now Mom wants to go because we had such a good time last week. So I'm going to this game. You can't lay 3 on Pittsburgh. They don't score. It's got to be the worst offense since what was it, Iowa, right? They just don't score. You can't bet Kenny Pickett and lay points. The money line is $1.70. I'm going to bet the Steelers. I think they're going to win this game. This is the worst 5-3 team in the history of the NFL, right? They're just not that good. But the Packers aren't any good either. So I like the Steelers money line -170, and I'll be at the game, so it's fun. I'm not a Steelers fan, but it's a fun place to go. Great stadium, and all the things you heard about the Steelers fans, it's real. They're very intense, but very nice. I had all my Titans bling on. We got a touchdown. People were high-fiving me. Hey, good luck with your team. It's not the way you think it is. It's not like being at an Eagles game. Great fans,
Yeah.
great stadium.
Philadelphia and Pittsburgh are on 2 separate sides of
Yeah.
that state there. So I mean, I think people conflate those types of fan bases. Philly just really lays into that type of fan base that's just very hostile. Pittsburgh's not.
By the
like
way, we got 4 tickets for the Penguins game Wednesday before Thanksgiving, 7:00. So we're taking you to the Penguins game Thanksgiving week. That's going to be a lot of fun. Go Pens!
Cool. Hockey. There we go. James, what do you see here? Packers, Steelers. You like the Steelers?
I like the Steelers. Packers haven't been very good since their 2-1 start, I believe. Pittsburgh is 9-3 against the spread in their last 12, and they're 4-1 in their last 5 games that they played in Week 10. So I'm looking at them to beat the Packers here.
Nate.
I like the Steelers too. I feel like I'm just like a little bit of a Steelers homer. I feel like I'm always just banging the drum for Pittsburgh on this show. even before John lived there. I like them, and this is mostly a bet against the Packers. The Packers were a team that early in the season I was optimistic about being good. They have betrayed that trust that I put in them. They're not good. They're very bad. In the last month, they look like they might be the worst team in the NFL, and that's saying a lot because there's a lot of very bad teams right now in the NFL, and they might be the worst. So Pittsburgh's got enough defense, I think, to be able to hang with this. And the Packers play such bad defense that I think even Kenny Pickett can score against them. So I like the Steelers here.
So let's move on to the Titans at Buccaneers. It's a big game for Dad, Titans fan here. Traveling to Tampa Bay. Really would like to get a win, I think, with your new quarterback, Will Levis. Can the Titans, who are +1, can they win this game, cover the spread, or do they drop another game to a mediocre team?
We're in big trouble, but that game that Tampa blew in the final, 25 seconds or something last week, where they got the touchdown to go ahead 38 seconds to go in the game, and then they can't win. I think that's really going to take a toll on that team. You just can't lose a game like that. You go down the field, you get the touchdown. There's a half a minute to go. You're up by 4 or something, and you lose the game. I mean, they go down and get a touchdown in 30 seconds. You got to be kidding me. So, but look, Titans got issues. 2 of their offensive linemen is out. Strakowski's out. Another guy's out. Treylon Burks is out for another week, so they still got injury issues. But there's hope. There's hope. If you're a Titans fan, there's hope because this guy, Will Levis, is fun to watch. This guy's for real. He's got a shotgun, a cannon for an arm. He's getting better every week. And, having those seats last week at the 50-yard line, 10 rows up, and I was on the Titans side. So the Steelers took care of me, right? So right on the Titans side. So you can actually see Vrabel's expressions. You can see them talking to Will Levis. You could see that you couldn't hear, but you could see the dialogue going on. I think the team is going to rally around this guy. Vrabel's already said he's a starter for the remainder of the season. So that's their future. Tannehill's contract is up. Unless Will Levis gets hurt, Tannehill took his final snap for the Titans 2 weeks ago. So I like the Titans in this game, albeit the injuries, just because they're a team with hope, playing a team that never should have lost that game last week. I mean, that was really pathetic what Tampa did. So I like the Titans here, plus the 1.
James, you like the Titans?
Hey, I like the Titans. I like the Titans here as well. And one interesting stat I did come across is the Bucs are actually 3-10-1 in their last 14 games when they're playing as a favorite. So I like the Titans here. I like them to cover that.
Nate, Titans?
No, I like the under here, I think. I'm going to stay away from the side. I mean, the line's moved around so much, I'm not going to bet the side. But I think the under's okay. I mean, both these teams are 6-2 if you just bet the unders for each of them this season. I think that the under looks like a good setup here. Both defenses, are pretty good against the run. Both of these teams really need to run the ball to have any offense at all. So it's kind of strength against what these teams want to do offensively. So I don't think there will be a ton of scoring. So I'd rather just do the under.
Yeah, okay. I kind of like the under there too, especially with all those offensive line issues. It's just going to be hard for the Titans to score. There's going to be a lot of sacks. Will Levis is too young to be navigating offensive line injuries. If you got a rookie quarterback, you need your offensive line to be able to protect him so he can stand back there and go through his progressions. And it's not like the Bucs can't rush the quarterback. They can a little bit. Let's go to Falcons at Cardinals. Last game that we're going to do here for the afternoon section. We'll welcome in Darian Kelly. Falcons are going to Arizona here, -2 on the road, over under 44. Cardinals suck, but the Falcons aren't much better. James, you like the Falcons at -2, or are they going to lose another game? I think they benched Ritter, so I think it's Heineke now at quarterback, but the Cardinals aren't exactly world beaters without I even forgot his name now because he's been out so long. Kyler Murray. James, go ahead.
I'm going to go with the Falcons here because the Cardinals have been that bad this season. Although they did beat the Cowboys, earlier in the season, I'm going to go with the Falcons and the 2 here.
Nate, traveling all the way out to Arizona. Can Atlanta hang here -2? I don't know. I don't love that spread for them.
Yeah, I like Arizona here. Kyler Murray will make a difference. we've already seen kind of what Heineke and the Falcons are, which is like not a very good team. I mean, they lost at home to a pretty beat up Vikings team last week. Traveling across the country to take on a Cardinals team that's probably a little bit rejuvenated with Kyler coming back. I like the Cardinals here.
Dad, Cardinals?
Falcons. This is the worst team in the National Football League. I know you guys are low on Green Bay right now. I can't argue with that. But this is really a pathetic football team, up and around. I don't care who's back at quarterback. Tyler Heineke, at least, kind of like Derek Carr. I mean, he's a semi-legit NFL quarterback. And this guy, Ritter, for the Falcons, he just – sometimes you get these guys and it's heartbreaking. It's like this guy Malik Willis. I mean, he's not an NFL quarterback. You got to cut him or you got to put him at, wide receiver or something. I mean, he's not an NFL quarterback. Ritter, I don't know if he's ever going to get there for you Falcons fans. And I'm not saying that out of meanness. I mean, I liked him at Cincinnati. I like his toughness. I'm just not sure this guy's an NFL quarterback. They just can't deal with the speed of the NFL. I think that's what Ritter's issue is. Too many interceptions. So I think Heineke comes in, wins this game only because the Cardinals are that pathetic. I mean, you can't get beat by the Cardinals if you're Atlanta and try to feign legitimacy. So I'm going to lay the 2 here with the Dirty Birds.
Yeah, I think probably the Cardinals are the play here just because Kyler Murray's back. They're not going to be as bad as they are without him. And Taylor Heineke is just not really the guy. I mean, he's fine if you need a backup, but between him and Ritter, they have no quarterback. They haven't had one for a while, and they're wasting picks on running backs that they're not using in the red zone. So it's really, Arthur Smith has not done much service to this team, especially the draft picks as well. And they got a better defense this year, but I don't think it's going to hold here in Arizona. So I like the Cardinals +2 today. Dad, before we move on to our afternoon games and welcome in Darian Kelly, tell us a little bit about how people in Virginia can take advantage of all those incredible Rosie's rewards at Rosie's Gaming Emporium, best casinos in Virginia. If you're in the area, how can you take advantage?
Well, the thing I love about Rosie's is you got to remember this. If you live in Virginia, they have locations all over the place. Dumfries by Roanoke. They've got Collinswood right outside of Danville. Of course, in Richmond, right by our studio in South Richmond. New Kent, which is where Colonial Downs is. Hampton, they got Dumfries in Northern Virginia, big hotel going up there. But when the state legislature gave them the license, okay, one of the things they did is they have the lowest takeout, the lowest state takeout in gaming in the country. Therefore, your payouts are bigger, your jackpots are bigger. So you simply win more money because the take is not the same as it is in any of the other casinos. So they've got that edge. You have a great jackpots. You're gonna have a lot of fun there, bigger payouts. But the other thing is, right now, if you don't have a Rosie's gaming card, you go in, you can get from $25 to $1,000 in free bets instantly. You sign up for the card, you put it in, you spin the wheel. I got only $25. Anna went in, and when she first got her card, she got $250 in free bets like that as soon as you go in. There's all kinds of neat things at Rosie's. Go to rosiesgaming.com. This, if you're going to have a date, if you just want some fun, this is the most fun you're going to have. Drinks are reasonable. The food is outstanding. I mean, I've eaten there. I had my whole suite there in Colonial Downs. I spent 3 months there every day. We moved our whole studio there. We ate there. Great place for fun. Go to rosiesgaming.com, rosiesgaming.com. Check it out in Virginia, and you're going to have a blast and win money at Rosie's.
That's right. We always want to thank Rosie's for the support of Godzilla Wins. They've been a big supporter of us for a very long time. You can go to GodzillaWins.com and find all of James Tillman III's writing on the Bears here. We want to thank James for joining us for these afternoon games and for talking Bears with us. You can find him at Sam3 on Twitter. So, James, thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon. We are here welcoming in Darian Kelly for our afternoon games. DK is in the house with us for some of these NFL games. You can find him at Twitter at DKSports410 and the Jersey Network blog as well. He does our social media. Been doing a terrific job for us. Darian, haven't been able to tell you that you've been doing such a wonderful job with that social media, but it's been trending in the right direction lately. Lot more impressions is what I keep getting updates about that. So thanks again for handling all that for us. You do such a better job than I ever did as our social media manager when we were sort of starting out. I'm a mess with that stuff.
We had a social media manager.
Before Darian, it was me. I'm the manager of everything when there isn't someone to do it, and that's not always a great business strategy. I've got my strengths and weaknesses, but Instagram is not a strength.
Good to see you, DK.
Great to see you guys as well. It's great to be back.
Yeah,
sorry about your Orioles. I really am.
I'm sorry about your Astros. I tried to, I showed a little bit of grace, unlike you, you came right at me when the Orioles lost. When the Astros went down, I didn't even reach out. I was just like, I'll wait till I come back. And then I was waiting for this moment. But just remember this for next season, how much grace I showed you versus the grace, you didn't show me. But it's okay. It's okay. We're even.
Texas, I hate Texas. Hey, here's what we have in common. We both hate the Rangers. So next year, we're both going to get in the ALCS championship again. It's going to be Astros, Orioles. Two of us are going to be there. We're going to go to a game in Houston, and we're going to take Ann. And so we're going to have a good time there because I know that's where you live. But Orioles, if you're an Orioles fan, I mean, they got a great future, great young team. It's going to be a fun season 24.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be as fun for the Astros. I think the Astros are probably trending in the opposite direction, but you never know yet. Anything else.
You know what? We've been 7 years in a row. We've been in the championship game. We're going to get there again. We got the best relief pitching. All our players are still there. We got a great nucleus. The key is who's the manager is going to be, and we'll have to wait and see. I think it's going to be Joe Estrada. That's who I think it's going to be. But we'll see, right? We'll see. You never know what Bagwell's going to do. And Bagwell runs a team, right? That's the bottom line. We'll see what Bagwell does. He wants Osmus. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Osmus hasn't had a ton of success as a manager, but he did hit a home run in 2004 that sent us to another series. So there's always that. Yeah, I don't know. Look, the Astros. Texas baseball runs through Arlington now, Dad. So you're going to have to deal with that for a year. If you want to win a World Series, you're going to have to beat the Rangers, best team in baseball, for another year. Let's move on to some football here. We're going to start with a game that I am infinitely intrigued about. The Lions at the Chargers. Lions are a good team here, -3 going to San Diego. I don't know if we like the over-under at 48.5. We'll start with our guest, Darian. Anything you see in this game that, to me, is, I think, one of the more interesting games on the schedule this week?
Yeah, I agree. It is an interesting game. I'm leaning towards the Lions here. I think the point spread is at -1, but I love the Lions because I think the Chargers really have improved themselves. Their wins haven't really been against any impressive teams. They're going into this game where, I really think Herbert's still banged up. I know they're not going to have their center. They're not going to have Josh Palmer as well. And I just think that the Lions will, this is a game that they'll eventually win with their offense. And then they have David Montgomery coming back, which is going to be a great complementary piece. I'm leaning Lions here.
Nate, one of the best ways to have a frustrating Sunday afternoon, I think, is betting the Chargers. Is that something you have interest in?
Absolutely not. I don't want to be frustrated on Sunday. This is actually my biggest bet of the week. I bet the Lions -1 on Sunday morning last week. And now it's gone to -3, and I feel even more awesome about that bet. I love the Lions here. They're coming off a bye. They're finally kind of looking like they might be getting a little bit healthier again. Goff is excellent off a bye. He's 4-2 against the spread after a bye in his career. And I just think they're a better team. I mean, the Chargers have a lot of problems. They particularly have a lot of problems sort of rushing the passer and on defense. And I think that Jared Goff is going to be able to take advantage of that. I never trust the Chargers anyways, particularly in a close game, because Brandon Staley will do something horrible at some point that will make them lose. It's just what they do. So I love the Lions here. I'm sort of becoming a believer in the Lions. I actually bet on them to win the Super Bowl, which felt really weird. So I'm a believer. I think
All
we'll
right.
learn a lot about them this week.
It's very tough to bet San Diego or LA, whatever they are. First of all, they don't even have a home. It's not even a home park, right? Half the fans there are with the other team, but they're the underachievers right now in the NFL. Everybody's got to agree with that. On paper, they look great, and then they just don't win big games. I think Detroit goes in here. That's why they went. They opened at -1. They're up to -3. It's very tough to bet the Chargers right now, because you don't really know what you're going to get. You open up the box of chocolates, who the hell knows what's in there. They're not reliable. To DK's point, Abear's a little bit banged up. They've got some injuries, and it's not like they're some kind of a home juggernaut. So I like the Lions coming in off this bye. Hey, either you're for real or you're not, and you got to go to San Diego, LA. I'm sorry, you got to go to LA, and you got to win this game on the road and prove, look, this team is for real. We can compete. We can compete with the Eagles. We can compete with Dallas, or I guess San Francisco if they ever win another game. I think that this is a big game for Detroit. I think they go in there and they manhandle them, score a lot. So I'm going to go with the Lions, even though it went up to 3.
Yeah, would have loved to grab them at -1. Nate, sometimes you play that game right, and you get a good number. Other times you play it wrong, and all of a sudden it's like the Lions +4 or something, and you're shaking your head at that -1. But played that one really nicely. So let's move on to the Giants at Cowboys. So the Giants are 17, +17, and DraftKings earlier didn't even list an over/under. So that's
They
how
still don't
much.
have one.
Yeah, that's
No,
how much.
they got it now at 44.5. I'll start here. Very simple. Protest bet. This is a protest bet. Nobody should be 17 over anybody on a Sunday in the NFL. That line's a joke. I don't care how bad the Giants are. Dallas got beat last week. They had all kinds of clock issues in a game that they were in for the most part with the Eagles. Yeah, do I think Dallas is going to win? Sure. Giants are horrible, but 17 points. The last time I saw this spread, you guys weren't even around. This was 1969 in the Super Bowl. The Colts were 19 over the Jets. Your grandfather, biggest bet he ever made in his lifetime was on the Jets. He said, this is not a 19-point spread. Jets ended up winning the whole game, beating Earl Monroe and Johnny Unitas. So based on that 1969 Super Bowl, I'm going with the Giants +17.
Darian, oh man, it's a big spread. I mean, do we just take the Giants on principle?
Principle.
I can't take them. I just don't know how they're gonna score the football. I mean, you look at the fact that Waller's gonna be out. They're banged up in a lot of different areas. I mean, you look at the stats. Giants are last in points per game. At 11 total yards per play. They're last in the league. I don't know how they're going to score. And the Cowboys, when they're favored at home, they beat up teams. And I think this is going to be a beatdown. I think that the Cowboys, even though it goes against, historical wisdom, I'm going to go with the Cowboys here just because of how, awful the Giants are and what I've seen out of the Cowboys against, these types of teams. I mean, they blew them out, 40 to, they kicked it off the season 40-0. So I got to roll with them.
Nate, I mean, you're a Cowboys guy, but I know on principle you do not like laying this type of wood in an NFL game.
Yeah, I'll take John's principle and I'll even one up it. I'll probably be betting on the Giants money line.
Yeah.
I mean, no team should be 8-1 to win a game.
Yeah.
Like that's just crazy.
Yeah, nuts.
Like, no, it's just stupid. Like +800 is just dumb. And Tommy DeVito looked better last week than he did the week before when he got pressed into action and threw for minus yards. So, he looked better replacing Danny Dimes last week.
Dimes.
Obviously the really weird thing is going to be if DeVito gets hurt because Tyrod Taylor's got a rib injury that may be season ending. Obviously, Danny Dimes tore his ACL, so he's out. I don't know what their fourth option is. So that could be like the deciding factor here. But yeah, I mean, just on principle, the spread, Giants money line, for some beer money or whatever. This is just a ridiculous line.
Yeah, I think anything up 6-1 or more, I just on principle take the underdog because you just never know in the NFL. It's not like college; it's not the same. So, I like it.
And Dallas already laid an egg against Arizona.
Yeah, they did,
Yeah,
and
that's
I mean
right.
it's a division game, so you just never know. But we'll see. All right, let's move on to a game that's a little bit more exciting: Commanders at Seahawks. Commanders.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, I like the Commanders. I think Sam Howell's looked pretty good. Eric Bieniemy seems to be maybe trying to improve that team as best he can as the offensive coordinator. Commanders are +6. Seahawks got the doors blown off them last week. We talked about that earlier, but they're back at home. They're a tough team at home. Point total is 44.5. Let's start with Darian. What do you think?
I'm thinking Seahawks here. I think even though they got their doors blown off, I think they'll bounce back here. I just think that the Commanders are I think Howell is the most sacked quarterback, in the entire league right now. I think that they picked up, with the Seahawks picking up Williams, they pretty much, they pretty much have solidified that defensive line. And I think that they're back to playing, traditional Seahawks football, right? Which is running the football and getting after it on the pass rush. I think this is a Seahawks win here.
DK, they went to Baltimore and got blown out, right? They were embarrassed. It's a better football team that showed up for the Ravens last week, threw across country. They laid an egg, and they just look sleepy and pathetic. Now they come home. This is a team that should make the playoffs. They're very solid. This is a very difficult spot for Washington to come in. They're beat up. Their two best defensive linemen have been traded away. They've gone through the fire sale. The team is going to get disbanded. They're going to have to start over. They have no quarterback. And I mean, as far as Howell is concerned, court's out on him because he gets sacked. So you don't really know if it's any good. This is just a tough spot for Washington to come, especially with the disarray in the locker room and Jack Del Rio and Rivera's lost his team. There's a fire sale going on. Seattle's going to come home here and they're going to kick some ass. And this thing is going to be a blowout. I love Seattle -6. Nate?
Gosh, I hate agreeing with you so much here, but this is actually I think my sort of favorite bet of the week is the Seahawks.
I thought it was the Lions.
Well, I don't know. It's a tie. It's a tie between the Seahawks and the Lions. I love the Seahawks here because I think that you're getting a little bit of value at -6.5 because they just went and got blown out by Baltimore. I think this would probably be 10 if Seattle doesn't look so terrible against Baltimore, but it was an awful spot, bad matchup. This is a good matchup and a good spot. Washington's making the cross-country trip to Seattle. Washington has no defense to speak of. They traded their best players, and they weren't very good before that on defense. They just won't be able to put enough pressure on Geno Smith to make him look like a bad quarterback, and that's really when he sort of struggles when there's a lot of pressure. Washington can't generate that. Seattle just rolls them here.
Yeah,
Interesting.
That's just easy.
I agree.
So let's move on to the Jets at Raiders. Now, this is the Sunday night game. Our saucy game of the week is coming up in a minute. But Jets at Raiders here. Let's just do 30 seconds on. I mean, geez, I don't know.
My God. The pain of it all. The pain of it. I'm going to bet the Jets. I mean, what the hell? I mean, when are you going to get a quarterback? I mean, you got to get rid of this guy, Wilson. I mean, the guy is not – it's like they're better off with Malik Willis. They're better off with Josh Dobbs signing him off the street. This guy is not an NFL quarterback. Sometimes you just got to say, you just can't do it, young fella, and you got to eat the draft pick, and you got to move on with life. I don't know what the Jets are going to do. They're wasting this great defensive talent. They're wasting a very good football team with a quarterback that he cannot play in the NFL. This stuff happens, man. It's happened with Ritter. I think it's going to happen with Howell. It certainly happened with Malik Willis. You got to get this guy out of there. I don't care who you got, but you know what? The Raiders are worse. And until Mark Davis gets a legitimate haircut, I don't think this team is ever going to win. They got no quarterback. This game's a joke. I'm going to go with the Jets -1 because they have a defense. So I'm gonna go with that. But Wilson's got to go. It's painful. If you're a Jets fan, this is painful. It's a painful season.
Yeah, for real. I don't know, Darren. What do you think? Jets -1. I mean, this is not a game I'm super excited to be watching on Sunday night.
Yeah, me neither. It is just, that trend of underwhelming, primetime games is, it'll all stop, with the Thursday night game coming up,
Right.
which I'm super excited about.
Right.
But yeah, no, I'm leaning towards Jets here. I think this is a no-brainer. I think, I agree with John. They're just really wasting this defensive talent. I mean, this Jets team is a real, they have a real defense. And the Raiders are just in a very precarious position right now. I mean, they've had some success. I mean, after last week, but I think going forward, it's a lot more question marks, not a lot of certainty. I'm leaning towards something that's a little more certain, which I can count on is that Jets defense coming out and playing. I'm leaning with the Jets.
Nate, you like the Jets defense here on the road?
I do, but I think I'd prefer to play the under 37. This game, I just don't see how either score very much. They're just so bad offensively, both. I mean, Aiden O'Connell's not good. Zach Wilson's terrible. I mean, we've seen enough Zach Wilson to know he's terrible. I'm a little reluctant to sort of fade Vegas just because I don't know. Antonio Pierce is now undefeated in his head coaching career. Mark Davis did get a haircut, and he is also undefeated as an owner without a bowl cut. So, I think that both of those things sort of make me a little reluctant to play the Jets, but I just can't see either team scoring.
One thing I'll say about Davis, and of course, those of us that follow NFL football. I mean, Al Davis, his father was just an iconic figure. Let's just win, baby, is just a phrase we all utilize and tribute to him all the time. I'll say this much, DK and Nate, about Mark Davis. Guy's got balls. I mean, he'll make a decision, right? I mean, he got rid of his coach when those emails came out, just fired him. He got rid of him. They're not winning. He gets rid of Josh McDaniels. He didn't get the deal in Oakland. We got tired of fighting with the city council. He moved the team to Vegas. I mean, the guy's got balls. I'll give him that.
Is it balls or is it just reckless? He's paying $80 million to coaches that don't coach for the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess so, but he's made. Sometimes you make bad decisions and you stick with them too long. He's made bad decisions and he's gone with it.
He just makes bad. So you're saying he's just impulsive?
Yeah,
I don't know.
You're not saying he has balls. You're just saying he's impulsive and he just does dumb things all the time.
Moving to Vegas, I mean, he had it. He got tired of fighting there with the Oakland City Council. They wouldn't give what he wanted. He threatened to go to Vegas. They said they needed more time. Vegas gave him a deal, and he said goodbye. And
the one smart thing he did.
I think I mean, I feel bad for Oakland, but I kind of get it. I mean, you got to crapper get off the pot.
We need to get to our saucy game of the week here, but the idea that making decisions is like always good leadership is not always true, especially when you own a multi-billion-dollar industry. Sometimes you have to make good decisions, not a lot of decisions. But he does like to make decisions, that's for sure. Let's move on to our saucy game of the week because we got to get to Red State Barbecue here. Browns traveling to Baltimore. Baltimore looking like world beaters. Ravens are -6.5, 38-point total here. Dad, if you're looking for some barbecue sauce, I don't think you can get any better than Red State Barbecue. I know you got it on hand right here. You love some of that barbecue sauce. Tell our listeners how they can get the best barbecue sauce at the best price with Red State.
Do you like good tasting meat? Do you like good tasting anything? Do you like barbecue sauce? You got one place to go, and that is Red State. Go to redstatebbq.com, a sponsor of Godzilla Wins. And look, I know you got a lot of things to do, but without our sponsors, we don't have a show. And Red State has been there for us. We ask you, go now, check it out. Just go to redstatebbq.com. They got 7 different flavors. I've got them all. You can pick your top 3. Check those out. Promo code Godzilla10. Get 10% off. And here's what I wanted. On Sunday, I want our Red State BBQ guys to say, hey, we love Godzilla Wins. Thank you for, promoting us because we got a lot of sales. Because without our sales, we're not here. And so this stuff, we only promote things that we use. Jack has it. Nate's got it. Ann's got it. I've got it. DK, you got to get some. Go to redstatebbq.com, promo code Godzilla10. You're going to love this. The best barbecue sauce ever. Memphis Sweet. I love that. North Carolina spicy vinegar. We lived in North Carolina for a year. We got hooked on it. It's different than Virginia. I like it better. North Carolina spicy vinegar and Texas spicy. If you like a little bite, if you like a little tangy bite, this is the thing. But try them all. RedStateBBQ.com, promo code Godzilla10. Thank you.
All right, saucy game of the week here. Browns traveling to Baltimore. Baltimore minus 6.5. Darren, we'll start with you here. Oh man, what do you think? I love this game.
I love it too, but I mean, I'm going with the Ravens here. I just think it's a no-brainer pick. Lamar is playing exceptional this year. He's doing, you got to take what the defense gives you. You can't be a certain singular kind of a player every game. You got to take what the defense is giving you. And I think that's what, Lamar is doing right now. You look at his record against NFC teams, even though they're not playing an NFC team. I mean, he's 16, 17, 1. One of the best records in that Ravens defense. I mean, you might not know the names, but I mean, they're playing lights out right now. I got to go with the Ravens on this one.
Nate,
Well, I'm the opposite here. This is the exact opposite. This Cleveland football team, nobody's giving this team any respect. I mean, they got a great defense, and I'm getting 6.5. Are you kidding me? This is going to be a backyard brawl. Somebody wins this thing at a field goal at the end. I think the Browns can pull the upset. They've got one of the best Jets, Browns, Ravens. I mean, these are the best defenses right now in the NFL. Eagles, not so much. These are the three best Ds. Defense wins games. It keeps you in games. So, and is Deshaun Watson going to run around and throw 4 interceptions? I don't think so. This is going to be a very tough game. This is a backyard brawl fight, in the sandlot. And I'm getting 6.5 with a legitimate football team with a great defense. With, they can run the ball. Watson's getting better, whatever you think of him personally. The guy's getting better every week. So I love Cleveland here. I bet him plus the 6.5. I also bet the money line, right? So I love the Browns in this game. This is going to be a very tough game. A field goal at the end wins it.
Nate.
I already kind of talked about how I like this. I teased Baltimore down to minus a half point, crosses through a few key numbers, pair it with Minnesota, pair it with the Buffalo if you want to get it down to -1 there. But that's kind of how I like it. I think the under is also a reasonable play. Both these defenses are just elite. Cleveland is not elite offensively. I think it's probably going to be low scoring divisional game, blah, blah, all that same narrative. So we'll move on to the next game.
Yeah. I kind of agree here. I mean, I don't know. I like the Ravens even minus 6.5, but the tease is a nice play here. So let's move on to Monday night. We got a couple minutes left. Broncos traveling to Buffalo. Bills -7. Buffalo hasn't looked, I don't think, like this good, but the Broncos stink. So Darren, we'll start with you. You like the Bills -7 on Monday night?
No, I'm gonna go against the grain and go with the Broncos here. I don't really, I think the Bills they're dying a slow death right now. Just given the state of their team, they go into this game with a lot of key injuries on their defense, and I think that that's their identity. They're not really clicking on all cylinders from an offensive perspective. And I think that the Broncos, I don't think that they are who they were at the beginning of the season. They're running the ball better. I think that the Broncos are tough out here, against a Bills team that, it's a lot of pressure on them right now.
Nate.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills are tricky. I keep wanting to tell myself the Bills are like a real Super Bowl team, and then they lose to someone horrible or get played tough by someone bad. But generally speaking, I think Buffalo is pretty good against bad teams. I still think Denver's probably a bad team. So my lean here is Buffalo, but I haven't actually bet it myself. But this looks like a spot that Buffalo should win.
Yeah,
a home game, man.
Dad, 30 seconds.
Yay, Denver won a game. Yay, Arizona won a game. Yay, Carolina won a game. They all suck. Bills -7 at home. Bills Mafia, Monday night blowout.
We want to thank Darian Kelly. You can find him at DK Sports 410 on Twitter, DK Sports 410. I want to thank him as always for joining us on the Godzilla Wins Picks show for the NFL. Really excited for the NFL slate this week. We want to thank James Tillman III for joining us as well for the NFL, Brian Butcher and Dan Angel for the college football section of the show. Should be a lot of fun this week. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We will see you next week, as always, 8 a.m. Eastern time, 8 to 10 Eastern. You can also catch us on Sunday at, I think, 9 to 10 Eastern for a rerun if you missed this. Up next is the War Room. See everyone next week.